They mocked the girl in Alien Academy, Part 1. The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss and stepped onto the polished floors of the Interstellar Academy. She was 17 years old, 5'4", with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. By human standards, she looked ordinary. By galactic standards, she looked like a mistake. The space station stretched around her in every direction. Curved walls of white metal rose toward a ceiling so high it disappeared into soft blue light. Hundreds of alien students moved through the arrival hall, their bodies shaped by 1,000 different worlds. Some floated, some crawled, some walked on legs that bent in ways that made knees ache just watching. And all of them were staring at her. She heard the whispers even through her translator earpiece. The device turned alien languages into English, but it could not hide the tone beneath the words. Is that from Earth, the Category 9 planet? I heard their atmosphere is poison. I heard their gravity would crush us flat. Why would they let something like that in here? Kept her face calm. She had expected this. Earth's reputation in the galactic community was not good. The Galactic Survey had classified her as a Category 9, which meant it was considered one of the most hostile environments in known space. The thick oxygen atmosphere that humans breathed was corrosive to most species. The gravity that felt normal to would break the bones of a. The temperature swings between seasons would kill in hours. And then there were the animals, the bacteria, the viruses, the natural disasters, the humans themselves. Earth was not a planet where life thrived. Earth was a planet where life fought, bled, and survived by any means necessary. And the galaxy looked at humans and saw exactly what that kind of world produced. Small, soft, short-lived creatures who had somehow clawed their way into space through sheer stubborn refusal to die. The Interstellar Academy had admitted on a special scholarship. The official purpose was cultural integration. The real purpose, new, was curiosity. The galaxy wanted to see what a species could do in a civilized environment. They expected her to fail. They expected her to provide entertainment. Had her own reasons for being here. A tall figure approached her. The species that ran this station and most of the galactic government. They looked almost human at first glance, but taller, thinner, with skin that seemed to glow faintly from within. Their eyes were large and silver, without pupils, beautiful in a way that felt cold. Her voice was musical but carried no warmth. I am administrator. Welcome to the academy. Your quarters have been assigned. Your schedule has been uploaded to your personal terminal. Do you have questions? No, said. The administrator's silver eyes flickered. Perhaps she had expected more words, more gratitude, more fear. Very well, a guide will show you to your dormitory. The guide was a small floating drone that led through corridors that grew steadily less impressive. The walls changed from polished white to dull gray. The lighting grew dimmer. The other students she passed wore cheaper clothes and carried older equipment. She was being put with the poor ones, the unimportant ones, the ones the academy did not care about. That was fine, had not come here for luxury. Her room was small. 2 beds, 2 desks, 2 storage units. One side was already occupied. A creature sat on the far bed, watching enter with 4 yellow eyes. Had studied the species on the long journey here. Reptilian appearance, scaled skin in patterns of green and brown, cold-blooded metabolism, highly sensitive to temperature changes. You are the human, said, not a question. Yes, I am. They did not offer any gesture of welcome. I requested a different room assignment. The request was, I'm sorry you're stuck with me. I am not stuck with you, I am being tested. The academy wishes to see if I can tolerate a without complaint. His eyes narrowed. I will not give them the satisfaction of seeing me fail, but understand this, human. I do not want you here. No one wants you here, and do not last long at this academy. Set her bag on the empty bed. Thanks for the warning. She unpacked in silence while watched. There was not much to unpack: a few changes of clothes, a tablet with her study materials, a small medical kit, and at the bottom of the bag, wrapped in a soft cloth, a photograph. Held it for a moment. A boy's face looked back at her, dark hair like hers, a smile that used to come easily but had grown rare in recent years. Her brother, Marco, 12 years old, sick with a disease that Earth's medicine could not cure but galactic medicine could. The scholarship came with benefits: medical access, treatment for family members. All had to do was survive 4 years at an academy full of aliens who thought she was vermin, graduate with acceptable grades, and her brother would live. She put the photograph under her pillow where could not see it. That night lay awake and listened to the hum of the space station around her. Somewhere below her, the stars turned slowly past observation windows. Somewhere far away, Earth hung in the darkness, a Category 9 full of stubborn creatures who did not know how to give up. Had grown up on that world. She had survived its gravity and its atmosphere and its predators. She had survived car accidents and childhood diseases and a school system that did not care about kids from her neighborhood. She had survived losing her parents. She had survived watching her brother get sicker while doctors shook their heads. This academy thought she was weak. These aliens thought she was a curiosity, a primitive thing to be studied and mocked. They had no idea what they were looking at. Closed her eyes. Tomorrow classes would begin. Tomorrow she would start proving every single one of them wrong. In the other bed, shifted in her sleep, the had wrapped herself in heating blankets to survive the room temperature that felt perfectly comfortable too, to survive the environment that a human found ordinary. Almost smiled. They called Eartha, they said it like it was an insult, but Earth had not killed, Earth had made her, and these aliens had no idea what that meant. Not yet. But they would learn. They mocked the girl in Alien Academy, Part 2. The first week at the academy taught 2 things. First, she could handle the classes. The material was difficult but not impossible, and she had always been a good student. Second, the other students wanted her gone. It started small: whispers when she walked into a room, empty seats around her in lecture halls, group projects where no one would partner with her, told herself it did not matter. She was here for her brother, not to make friends. But it got worse. In diplomatic protocol class, the professor spent an entire lecture discussing Earth's history. Sat in the back and listened while the instructor described human wars, human violence, human cruelty. The other students turned to look at her with disgust in their eyes. As you can see, the professor said, the humans have been practicing organized violence against each other for their entire recorded history. This is typical of species. They lack the higher development that allows civilized beings to resolve conflicts peacefully. Did not respond, she wrote notes, she kept her face blank. In xenobiology class, it was worse. Professor, an ancient with faded scales and slow movements, used humans as a case study. The class examined human anatomy on holographic displays while sat among them. Notice the excessive muscle density, Professor said. The redundant organ systems, the extreme healing capabilities. These are not signs of advanced evolution. These are survival adaptations, the kind we see in prey animals on hostile worlds. A student raised his hand. He was tall even for his species, with skin that glowed bright gold. Had learned his name, Oran, son of a powerful noble family, the most popular student in the academy. Professor said, are humans not also pursuit predators? I read that they evolved to chase prey over long distances until the prey died of exhaustion. Professor nodded. That is correct. Humans are pursuit predators, which is unusual for a sentient species. Most civilized races evolved from ambush predators or herbivores. The human method of hunting is considered extremely primitive. And extremely disturbing, added. The class laughed. Kept writing notes. After class found her in the hallway. He was not alone. Two others flanked him like guards. One was a female named with 4 arms and sharp spines along her shoulders. The other was a crystalline being who moved with mechanical precision. Human said, his voice was pleasant, almost friendly. I have been curious about you. Okay, said. I wonder what the Academy was thinking, letting us through the doors. You must know you do not belong here. I know I got accepted. That means I belong here. Made a sound like broken glass scraping together. It was laughter. Accepted on a charity scholarship. A publicity stunt. You are here because the Academy wanted to show how tolerant they are. And they put you in the lowest dormitory, added. This voice was flat, without emotion. With the other failures, where you will not embarrass anyone important when you wash out. Looked at the 3 of them. Golden and confident, cruel and sharp, cold and calculating. They were waiting for her to react, to cry, to get angry, to give them something to use against her. Is there something you actually want? Asked. Or are you just practicing being unpleasant? Smile flickered. I want you to understand your place here, human. The galaxy has no room for. Your species is a mistake that somehow learned to build ships. Enjoy your time at the Academy while it lasts. It will not be long. They walked away, watched them go. That evening, she went to the dining hall for dinner. The food was synthesized to match the nutritional needs of hundreds of species. Had found that the human options were edible but bland, like eating cardboard that had been taught the concept of flavor. She was carrying her tray to an empty table when someone bumped into her from behind. Hard. Stood there holding a small container. Oh, how clumsy of me. Before could react, poured the container's contents onto his tray. A thick liquid splashed over her food and across her hand. It started fizzing immediately, releasing a sharp chemical smell. Looked down at her hand. The liquid was eating through her food tray, dissolving the synthetic material. On her skin it bubbled and hissed. Enzymatic solvent, said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. So sorry. I hope your primitive biology can handle it. Students were watching, waiting for to scream, to panic, to show them how weak a human really was. Looked at her hand. The skin was red where the solvent touched it. There was a tingling sensation like mild sunburn. She could feel her body already responding, blood rushing to the affected area, immune system activating. This tingles, said. Blink to watch. The solvent, it tingles a little. Set down her ruined tray. Is this the part where I'm supposed to be hurt? She walked away, leaving standing there with an empty container and a confused expression. That night, researched the solvent on her tablet. What she found made her sit very still for a long time. Enzymatic solvent of that type caused severe chemical burns in most galactic species, degree tissue damage, permanent scarring, possible limb loss without immediate medical treatment. It was classified as a dangerous substance, restricted from casual use. Had poured it on her hand like it was water. Looked at her palm. The redness had already faded. In a few hours, there would be no sign that anything had happened. On most worlds, she would be screaming in a medical bay right now. On most worlds, she would be maimed for life. But was not from most worlds. She was from Earth. A Category 9 where the rain was acidic and the sunlight caused cancer, and the bacteria evolved fast enough to challenge any immune system. Her body had been built to survive conditions that would kill every student in this academy. She had known, in theory, that humans were tough, but sitting there, looking at her unmarked hand, began to understand something deeper. The galaxy thought she was weak because she was small and soft and short-lived. The galaxy thought we're primitive because they came from hostile environments. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. Put away her tablet and went to sleep. Tomorrow, she would continue attending classes. She would continue ignoring the mockery and the sabotage and the hatred. But now she knew something she had not known before. She was not the one in danger here. They were. They mocked the girl in Alien Academy, Part 3. 2 weeks passed, attended every class, completed every assignment, and ignored every insult. Her grades were excellent despite the obstacles placed in her way. Someone had hacked her study files and filled them with errors. Someone had blocked her communications to Earth. Someone had broken into her room and destroyed her research materials. She rebuilt everything. She found workarounds. She kept going. But Iran was not satisfied with quiet sabotage. The assembly hall was the largest room in the academy, a vast space where all students gathered for important announcements. Stood near the back, as far from the other students as possible, when walked onto the central platform. "Fellow students," he said, his golden skin glowing brighter for effect, "I must bring a serious matter to your attention. It concerns academic integrity." Felt cold spread through her chest. She knew what was coming. "I have evidence," continued, "that one of our students has been cheating, submitting work that is not her own, falsifying research data." He turned to look directly at. "I am speaking, of course, about the human." The crowd murmured. Hundreds of alien eyes turned toward. "I have documented proof," said. "Timestamps showing impossible completion speeds, writing analysis showing inconsistent patterns, data that does not match her supposed experimental work." He held up a tablet. "I submit this evidence to the Academy Council and call for immediate investigation." Stood very still. She knew the evidence was fake. She knew had created it or had someone create it for him, but that did not matter. An investigation would take weeks. Her scholarship would be suspended during that time. Her brother's medical treatment would stop. She had to end this now. Walked forward through the crowd. Students pulled away from her like she was diseased. She climbed the steps to the platform and stood facing. "You are lying," she said. Her voice was calm. Smiled. "Of course the denies it. What else would we expect from a primitive species? I am not going to argue about your fake evidence. I am going to invoke the right of challenge." The assembly hall went silent. Truly silent, in a way that hundreds of beings in one room should not be able to achieve. Smile faltered. "What did you say?" "The right of challenge. You taught us about it in diplomatic protocol, remember, an ancient tradition. When someone's honor is attacked with false accusations, they can challenge the accuser to prove the truth through combat." Kept her eyes locked on Silver gaze. "I am challenging you." "You cannot." "I can. The tradition is still recognized under Academy bylaws. You made sure to mention that in your lecture. You were very proud of your culture's warrior history." Tilted her head. "Or was that just talk?" The crowd was buzzing now. This was unexpected. This was entertainment. His face shifted through several emotions. Surprise, anger, and then, slowly, amusement. "Very well, human, I accept your challenge." His smile returned, wider than before. "I will even let you choose the terms, whatever form of combat you prefer." Knew this was a trap. Was a powerful telekinetic, able to move objects with his mind. If she chose armed combat, he would simply take her weapon. If she chose distance fighting, he would crush her from across the arena. Physical combat said, "No weapons, no technology." Some amusement grew. "And no psionic dampeners. You would let me use my abilities freely." "Yes." Now laughed. The sound echoed through the assembly hall. "The wishes to fight a telekinetic with her bare hands. I almost admire your courage. It is a shame it will be wasted." "Tomorrow morning," said. "Challenge grounds, dawn." "Agreed." Walked off the platform and out of the assembly hall. Behind her, the noise erupted as hundreds of students began talking at once. She heard words like suicide and insane and, finally, entertainment. She did not care. That night, someone knocked on her dormitory door. Opened it to find Professor A standing in the hallway. The old looked even more ancient in the dim lighting, her scales dull and her movements slow. "May I come in?" I asked. Stepped aside. Was not there. Her roommate had started spending nights elsewhere, uncomfortable sharing space with the who had just challenged the most powerful student in the academy to single combat. I moved to the center of the room and stood quietly for a long moment. "You know what you are," she finally said. It was not a question. "I am starting to understand. The galaxy has not seen a species in positions of power for 12,000 years. A's yellow eyes were distant, looking at something far away. The last ones. We do not speak of what they became, of what they did. What happened to them? They won," a turn to face. "They won everything, and then they had to be stopped. It took the combined might of every civilized species to stop them. The war lasted 300 years. Absorbed this, and you think humans are the same. I think Earth has produced something the galaxy forgot could exist. I think tomorrow you are going to show everyone exactly what that something is." A move toward the door. "Be careful, child. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. What you reveal tomorrow will change how the galaxy sees your species. Choose wisely what that revelation will be." The old professor left, sat on her bed and looked at the photograph of her brother. Marco smiled back at her, frozen in a moment before he got sick, before everything went wrong. She was not doing this for pride. She was not doing this to prove anything to the galaxy. She was doing this because a powerful bully had decided to destroy her, and if she let him win, her brother would die. Tomorrow, Iran would learn what 12,000 years of forgetting had cost the galaxy. Tomorrow, he would learn what it really produced. Lay down and closed her eyes. She slept well. They mocked the girl in Alien Academy, Part 4. Dawn came to the Interstellar Academy. The artificial sun cycle brightened the station's windows with pale gold light as students gathered at the challenge grounds. Every seat was full. Every balcony was packed. Word had spread through the night, and now it seemed the entire academy had come to watch the die. The challenge grounds were a circular arena with a floor of soft artificial grass. Ancient tradition demanded that combat happen on natural surfaces, or at least the closest thing a space station could provide. The stands rose around the circle in tiers, filled with hundreds of watching faces. Walked onto the grass alone. She wore simple training clothes, loose pants, and a fitted shirt that would not restrict her movement. She had removed her translator earpiece. She did not need to understand what the crowd was saying about her. Their tone was enough. Across the arena, Iran descended from the noble family's private balcony. He wore ceremonial robes that flowed around him like liquid gold. His skin glowed bright enough to cast shadows. He looked like a god coming down to crush an insect. An arbiter stepped forward, an old informal dress, responsible for ensuring the rules of challenge were followed. "The right of challenge has been invoked," the arbiter announced. "Of Earth accuses Iran of bearing false witness. The terms have been agreed: physical combat, no weapons, no technology, no psionic dampeners. The match ends when one party yields or is rendered unable to continue." Smiled across the arena at any final words human. Did not respond. She was counting her breaths, slowing her heart rate, entering the state of calm focus that humans had evolved for moments exactly like this. The arbiter raised his hand. "Begin." Moved first. He raised his arm and the air itself seemed to twist. Telekinetic force, invisible but powerful enough to bend metal, surged toward like a wave. 1 second. Was already moving, not backward away from the attack, forward toward. She dropped low, her body folding under the wave of force that passed over her head. The crowd gasped. They had never seen anything move that fast. On Earth, humans had evolved to chase prey across open grasslands. They had evolved to dodge predators. They had evolved reflexes that fired faster than conscious thought, muscles that could explode from stillness to full speed in a heartbeat. 2 seconds. Adjusted. He brought the telekinetic force down, trying to slam into the ground. But she was no longer where she had been. She planted her foot and changed direction, cutting sideways with a movement that tore the artificial grass. Her body moved in ways that eyes could barely track. The aliens watching did not understand what they were seeing. They had never watched a pursuit predator hunt. They had never seen the desperate, beautiful efficiency of a creature built to run down anything, anywhere, forever. 3 seconds. Had crossed half the distance. She was close now, too close for comfort. She could see the fear starting to bloom in his silver eyes. He threw everything he had into a telekinetic barrier, a wall of force between himself and the approaching human. 4 seconds. Did not slow down. She hit the barrier at full speed. The impact would have killed her. It would have shattered bones. It would have cracked crystal into pieces. The force involved was tremendous, a human body at full sprint meeting an immovable wall. 5 seconds. The barrier buckled. His eyes went wide. That was impossible. That was absolutely impossible. No living thing could survive hitting a telekinetic barrier at that speed. No living thing could keep pushing after impact like that. But was not from a world where living things were fragile. She was from Earth, where life was hard and brutal and only the tough survived. Her bones were dense from growing up in heavy gravity. Her muscles were strong from fighting that gravity every day of her life. Her body was built to take damage that would destroy any other sentient species in the galaxy. 6 seconds. The barrier broke. Came through the collapsing telekinetic field like a bullet through glass. Her hand shot out and closed around his throat. Not crushing, not squeezing, just holding with exactly the right pressure to control him without causing permanent damage. 7 seconds. She lifted him slightly off the ground, was taller than her, heavier than her, but that did not matter. Human muscles did not care about size differences. Human determination did not care about what was supposed to be possible. 8 seconds. The arena was silent, completely, absolutely silent. Hundreds of aliens stared at the scene before them, unable to process what they had witnessed. 9 seconds. Held in the air with one hand. Her breathing was steady. Her heart rate was barely elevated. She had not even broken a sweat. For a human, this was light exercise, a morning jog, nothing worth worrying about. In the stands, someone with a medical scanner looked at the readings and felt their blood run cold. The human's vital signs showed no stress response at all. She had just destroyed the most powerful telekinetic student in the academy, and her body was treating it like a walk in the park. 10 seconds. Spoke, her voice was calm, clear, and carried across the silent arena. Yield. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. He looked into his eyes and saw something there that he had never seen before. Not anger, not hatred, not triumph. Patience. The patience of a species that had evolved to chase prey until the prey's heart exploded from exhaustion. The patience of creatures who had crossed deserts and climbed mountains and survived ice ages through nothing but sheer stubborn refusal to die. The patience of a "I yield," whispered. Released him. He dropped to his knees on the grass, gasping for air, trembling with shock and terror. The arbiter stepped forward. His voice shook slightly as he made the announcement. The challenge is concluded, is victorious. The accusation of academic dishonesty is declared false. Turned and walked toward the arena exit. The crowd parted before her, not with respect, not yet, with something older and deeper than respect. Fear. They had called Eartha. They had said it like an insult, like something to be ashamed of. They had forgotten what that word actually meant. Now they remembered. In the faculty stands, Professor A watched the small human girl walk away. The old closed her eyes and spoke words that no one else could hear. The door is open now. There is no closing it. Below, Oran still knelt on the grass, staring at his hands, trying to understand what had just happened. 10 seconds. That was all it had taken. 10 seconds for everything to change. The galaxy had mocked the girl. The galaxy was not laughing anymore. They mocked the girl in Alien Academy, Part 5. 3 days after the challenge, the Academy felt like a different place. The whispers had not stopped, but they had changed. Students no longer laughed when walked by. They stepped aside. They lowered their voices. They watched her with eyes that held something between wonder and terror. In classes, professors treated her differently. They asked her opinions. They waited for her answers. They no longer used humans as examples of primitive failure. Her grades, which had been sabotaged for weeks, were quietly corrected. Her communications to Earth were restored. Her research materials appeared back in her room, replaced without explanation or apology. Oran had not returned to classes. Rumors said he was in his family's quarters, refusing to see anyone, and had stopped their harassment. They avoided completely, looking away when she passed. Everything had changed, but knew it was not over. The summons arrived on the 4th day, not from the Academy administration, from the Galactic Concord Security Council, the highest governing body in known space. They wanted to see her. The hearing chamber was cold and vast, filled with floating platforms where representatives from dozens of species sat in judgment. Stood alone in the center, a small human girl surrounded by beings who controlled the fate of entire worlds. Of Earth, the lead counselor said. She was ancient and severe, her glow dimmed with age. You were admitted to this academy as part of a cultural integration program. Your presence was meant to be symbolic. I understand, said. Symbolic, the counselor repeated. Harmless. A gesture of openness toward a newly spacefaring species, but what you demonstrated 3 days ago was not harmless. Another counselor spoke, his spines rigid with tension. We have reviewed the recordings. We have consulted with experts in biology. What you did should not have been possible. I just want to fight, said. You broke through a telekinetic barrier that could stop a vehicle, with your body, without significant injury. The leaned forward. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand what your species represents? Said nothing. The lead counselor spoke again. 12,000 years ago, another species rose to prominence in galactic society. They were called they were strong, resilient, and determined. They were welcomed as allies and partners. The old's voice grew hard. Within 3 centuries, they had conquered half the galaxy. It took a war that killed trillions to stop them. I am not here to conquer anyone, said. I am here to get an education. That may be true, but you have opened a door that cannot be closed. The galaxy now knows what humans are capable of, what your entire species might be capable of if threatened. The counselors murmured among themselves, waited. Finally, the lead counselor spoke. We are prepared to offer you an honorable withdrawal. You will leave the academy, return to Earth. Your brother's medical treatment will continue as promised. This matter will be forgotten. Let the silence stretch. She looked around the chamber at all the powerful beings who were afraid of one 17-year-old girl. No, she said. The chamber went still. I am not going to leave. I am not going to hide. I came here to get an education, and I am going to get one. His voice was steady. You classified me as unsurvivable, but I survived it. For 17 years, I survived crushing gravity and corrosive atmosphere and extreme temperatures and predators and diseases and natural disasters. I survived everything Earth could throw at me. She took a step forward. The counselors shifted uncomfortably. You want to fear us. You want to isolate us. You want to push us back to our and pretend we do not exist. But my people did not crawl out of Earth's gravity just to be scared back into it. We have been fighting to survive since before your species learned to walk. We do not break. We do not yield. We do not stop. Looked directly at the lead counselor. I am staying. I am going to graduate at the top of my class. And when I do, you are going to have to decide what to do with a galaxy that has humans in it. I suggest you start getting used to the idea. She turned and walked out of the chamber. No one tried to stop her. That night returned to her dormitory. The hallway was empty except for a small group waiting outside her door. She recognized some of them. The with low caste markings who sat alone in every class. The with the cracked crystal structure that marked her as defective. A handful of others from species the powerful considered lesser. And her roommate who had despised her from the first day. What is this? Asked. We watched your challenge, the low caste said. We watched you stand against the Security Council. Word spreads fast. We are not asking you to lead us, the cracked added. We are asking you to stay, to keep being what you are, to show them that the ones they dismiss can fight back. Looked at each of them. Outcasts, rejects, beings who had been told their whole lives that they were worth less than others. I was planning to stay anyway, she said. Something like hope flickered in their eyes. Stepped forward. She was holding 2 cups filled with a dark liquid. The synthesizers cannot make proper earth coffee, but this is the closest approximation I could find. Took one of the cups, sipped. It tasted terrible. She did not care. You are completely insane, said. You threatened the Security Council. You told the most powerful beings in the galaxy to get used to humans. Where I come from, said, we call that Tuesday. For the first time, laughed. It was a strange sound from like gravel shifting, but it was real. They went inside. The small group crowded into this tiny room, sitting on beds and floors and anywhere they could fit. They talked late into the night about classes and professors, and the future that might be possible now that someone had proven the galaxy's hierarchies could be challenged. Listened more than she spoke. She watched these beings who had come to her because she had shown them something they needed to see. Strength did not come from being born powerful. It came from refusing to surrender. Through the window, stars wheeled slowly past. Somewhere far away, Earth turned in the darkness, a Category 9 full of stubborn creatures who had never learned how to quit. The galaxy had spent 12,000 years forgetting what could do. The galaxy had grown comfortable, soft, convinced that violence was primitive and determination was unnecessary. Now a small human girl had reminded them of the truth. The universe did not reward the powerful or the perfect or the evolved. It did not care about status or wealth or ancient lineages. The universe rewarded the survivors, the stubborn, the ones who simply refused to stop. And humanity had been refusing to stop since, before they learned to make fire. In her small room, surrounded by misfits and outcasts who had become something like friends, smiled. Let the galaxy watch, let them fear, let them try to push humanity back. They would learn, they would all learn. Earth did not raise quitters.